Let me say something that might surprise you. Your church already has a strategy, even if you didn't mean to create one. And that strategy, if it's not intentional, might be silently stalling your church. In this episode of the Pressure Pod, let's talk about how easy it is to lead a busy but stalled church. A lot of pastors who I work with, they feel like they are doing everything right. You may feel that way. You're preaching the word, you're hosting small groups, you're planning events, leading worship, updating social media, filling the calendar up. And somehow, though, the church just feels stuck. People feel stalled. It doesn't feel like there's any real momentum. There's a lot of maintenance, though. Why? Why is that? Well, let me suggest this. Maybe it's because ministry without strategic clarity is kind of like rowing in circles. I mean, you're working really hard, but you're not moving forward. The answer, and you won't be surprised to hear this from me, is strategy. I know that sounds corporate, but strategy is nothing more than a plan to accomplish the mission. And here's what's wild. Every church has a strategy, including your church. It's just that many of them aren't built on purpose. These strategies are inherited or accidental or maybe reactive. They're shaped by what worked 5 years ago or 35 years ago, or they're shaped on what people expect or what's easiest to pull off, week to week. But inherited and accidental or reactive strategies, they rarely lead to ongoing transformation. In fact, more often it just leads to exhaustion. Ministry strategies are made for moments. And here's the scary thing about moments. They change, they pass by. So our ministry strategy should be designed to accomplish our mission in this moment in time. But here's what I have found, and maybe you have felt this too. And I mentioned this already. Most pastors, they're not resistant because strategy feels wrong, but they are resistant because strategy feels corporate. And you are not a corporation. Your church is not a business. I know, I've heard all that before, and I understand it to a large degree. But like I also mentioned before, strategy sounds like something a business has, right? Not a church. It can feel cold and calculated, maybe even unspiritual. But here's the truth. Strategy isn't a spreadsheet. It's just a direction. And direction reduces pressure, and it helps the mission move forward. I mean, if it helps you, another word for strategy in the church is model or method. Your ministry model is your strategy, and you have one. It just might not be that intentional. So now that hopefully we're all a little bit better or okay with the word strategy, call it ministry model if you want, let's talk about how to evaluate our current model and design something that might be more effective. FYI, this is a framework that I walk churches through when I do consulting work with them, whether it's 1 and 2 day workshops or these longer engagements that I have with churches. So 3 things that we do whenever we're working to evaluate ministry model strategies and figure out how to make things better, how to make the mission better. So number 1, 3 things we do. Number 1, we have to define our reality, define the reality. We have to get really honest about what's working, what's not, what's unclear. And listen, this is not about blaming anybody or blaming anything. It's just about clarity. I call this pinpointing the pressure. If something isn't working or if it's creating sideways energy, we have to identify it. You've got to be completely, and this is hard, and fully honest as you do this. It does no good to pretend something is working when it's really only a tradition or a sacred cow. It does no good to pretend something is moving people forward spiritually if really you're just doing it because you don't want to make someone upset or because it's been there for so long. And you don't want to say this out loud, but you feel it. If the answer is, well, we've always done it that way, that might be a red flag that you need to raise a white flag and surrender that ministry, that environment, that experience, that program. So number 1, what's the first thing you have to do? You have to define what's actually happening. You have to define the reality honestly. Number two, now you get to design a plan. This is about connecting your programs, events, and that church calendar you have back to your mission, not to anything else. Remember, we are loyal to one thing, and it's the mission of your church. It doesn't mean we're not loyal to people. We are. We are loyal to what we've done, and that's kind of not always great, but I get it. But we're not loyal to anything like we're loyal to the mission. The mission is the purpose, right? So we want to be on mission, on purpose. If something you're doing doesn't move people forward in faith, it probably shouldn't be on the calendar. And movement is the key word here. When we're designing this strategy, even if movement is incremental, forward kind of spiritual progress, that's the aim. That's the mission after all. So your plan should meet people where they are and offer them a step designed for where they are. And so when they take it, it moves them forward, and then you get to inspire another step when they're ready. This entire thing, discipleship, is about steps. It's about a journey, right? So what we want to do is design a pathway so they can take a journey on it. Third thing we do, once we've kind of built this plan and it's really mission-centric, people-centric, it's a movement model. Once we've got this in place, this plan in place, we want to deliver it. But we've got to deliver it consistently. That's the kind of secret word there, deliver it consistently. Okay, we do this by two things, evaluating regularly and adjusting boldly. That's it. As you implement your new improved ministry model, you have to be hyper evaluative, and then you've got to make bold changes as you learn what's now working, what's not working as well as you thought, what's a little confusing. Are there spots where people are getting trapped or becoming stagnant? They're not moving forward. Is there a gap in your model where step 3 to step 4 is way too big? People are having no problem going from 1 to 2 to 3, but then to go to 4, step 4, it's just too big. Maybe we need an incremental step, 3A and B, right? Again, this is about orchestration, evaluation, and adjustment. And this is what we do over and over and over again. Honestly, I wish that planning was, a one-time thing. I wish planning once was enough. But the reality is that people change and culture changes and communities change. It's what I said earlier. Ministry models are made for moments. And once the moment passes, the model ceases to be as relevant. So the further away we get from the moment that we designed the model, the better the odds that the model maybe isn't as successful as it could be. So we've got to evaluate, and we got to evaluate if the strategy is working. So what can you do this week? Well, you could do a 2-day retreat and bring all your elders and board members and key volunteers and staff and maybe a consultant in to help facilitate it. And that'd be great. Maybe you should do that. But what could you practically do this week? If you don't have time to do a full strategic planning retreat, what can you do this week? Well, again, over time, you can get all this done. But what you could do this week is maybe just block an hour with your staff or your board or a couple of key volunteers and ask. I'm just going to give you 3 questions that you can ask to talk about for the hour. Number 1, what are we doing that clearly moves people forward in their faith? Is there something we are currently doing that is absolutely working? If there is, you want to know that because you don't want to mess that up. Number 2, what are we doing just because we've always done it? And I can tell you now, there's something on that list. There is something that you at your church are probably doing, and you haven't really evaluated it for a long time. If someone were to ask you why you're doing it, you wouldn't say it out loud because you know you're not supposed to, but the answer is, well, we've just always done it. What is that? What are those things? List them. And here's the third question to talk through. What's one step we can take to better align with our mission? That's it, just one step. And that's it. If you do that for 1 hour, that will move things forward. Even if it's incrementally, that's okay. And you don't need a 3-ring binder at the moment. You may eventually want to have a vision retreat or bring somebody like me in to help, but you don't have to start there. You don't have to wait to make progress. And you don't have to wait to start relieving some of that pressure. Okay, one last thing. If your church feels busy but stuck, I do want you to know this. You're not alone. This is a very common thing in churches. However, you're also not helpless, okay? You can lead with strategy, and you can do that without compromising your mission. You can be both faithful and clear. And when you are, and this is important, the pressure starts to lift. If this conversation kind of hits home for you, I'd love to invite you to consider two things. One, every month I offer pressure valve sessions. These are free monthly workshops where we unpack pressures just like this and we walk through real solutions. That may be a great opportunity for you. If you go to gavinadams.com, you'll see pressure valve sessions there in the top nav. Also, I offer leadership labs. I do these in person and digitally. These are much longer, much more in-depth takes on topics like this. So, for instance, if you would like to have a kind of deeper customized plan and conversation around your ministry model, I'd love to help you do that. If not me, invite somebody in to help you do it. It's really hard to lead and facilitate a conversation at the same time. So bring an expert in who can help you figure out those three things. Where are we really? What's a better plan for this current world that we have found ourselves in? And how can we implement it and evaluate and adjust as we go?